Welcome back into another episode of Where the Game Lives On, the official podcast of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, coming to you on the week of drop. A very, very busy week for the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. We have got several things going on, preparing for our annual Springfield enshrinement, the Super Bowl of sorts for us. A lot of big names that we are inducting this coming Sunday, February 4th. Anthony Tolliver, Kickapoo standout. Justin Britt, Lebanon standout, Mizzou product, NFL guy. Lucas Harrell, a local baseball player turned professional. Longtime broadcast radio announcer Tom Ladd. USA softball Tammy Williams. We're barely even getting into the list. It's just name after name after name. Very, very deserving individuals. We're looking forward to it. It's always a good time whenever we get those folks in town. Get to just make a memorable day for them, giving them recognition for their careers filled with outstanding achievements. People don't know how much goes into it, right?
It's not just show up and eat and clap.
We wish.
There's a lot of how many meals and chairs and tables and napkins and tickets and how are the tickets. I mean, there's a lot of logistical stuff, especially this last week. It's been a very busy week so far, and will continue to be so.
Yeah, we enjoy it. It's all for the sake of the cause, which is creating that memorable day, right? Giving those people the recognition that they deserve. We can't wait. There's definitely a sense of achievement, a sense of crossing the finish line once we get to Sunday and can kind of just slow down and do business as usual when it comes to showtime, for lack of better terms. But we'll get there, and we enjoy every step of the way, even though sometimes there's obstacles, hurdles, whatever you may say, hoops to jump through. But want to remind you, big guests coming up here in the coming weeks on the podcast. Anthony Tolliver will be joining us next week. Justin Britt to follow. Also want to remind you, Tyler Hansbrough will be joining us in March. We'll talk a little bit of basketball. We like kicking out the brackets as well. A UMKC standout as well, an inductee of 2023, Michael Watson, will be joining us here in March as well. You're a big college basketball guy. You enjoy the college basketball.
I mean, I don't watch as much as I used to, but I follow. I say I follow. If I looked at the top 25 right now, I probably would be surprised at half the teams in there, though. So
yeah, and we broke it down a little bit a week or two ago.
I saw this.
Listen to that episode.
This Saturday is a huge. I think there's 3 top 10 matchups.
Oh, really?
I think it's Duke, Carolina 1. I think they're, ranked 7th and 4th. I know Kentucky's 10th. They're hosting like number 7 Tennessee. And then Houston is at Kansas. So
a lot of good games.
So that's 3 top 10 matchups this Saturday alone. I think they're back to back to back on ESPN. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
I really like the Baycott kid from UNC. I love those physical forwards.
The guy's been there like 17 years. So.
Fair. If somebody's younger than me, I automatically just say kid. But
I actually, my brother-in-law is a huge North Carolina Tar Heel fan, and so I actually was able to get him an Armando Baycott signed jersey for Christmas.
That's
so
sweet.
He was happy about that.
That's sweet. I love when they have those big matchups, especially this time of the year when they mean a lot. Teams are really trying to get that momentum. Do they still do those like cross conference kind of mashups?
Yeah, it's usually in early December. It used to be like the SEC, ACC Big Ten Challenge. The SEC used to have one with
Big 12,
but now they've switched to a different conference.
Of course, that's going to all change, right? Because all the conferences are looking different. And
who did the SEC switch to? They
I don't
switched
know.
to somebody different this year.
I don't
Big
know.
10 maybe?
That's good. That's good ball right there. Yeah. Big 10. That's, yeah.
No, it's the SEC ACC Challenge.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, because they played North Carolina, I believe. No. They played Miami. They hosted Miami. Never mind.
So, but you're telling me, though, that something makes sense geographically in NCAA?
Well, and it was weird because like Arkansas beat Duke in Fayetteville in the ACC SEC Challenge, but Arkansas's won like one game in the conference. So it's like they've like weird things are going
flattened out maybe, or
down at the
SEC
basketball palace of the Midwest. Have you ever been there before?
I have not. I've heard
that barn down there. First time I went, that you walk up and it says something like the basketball palace of the Midwest.
Is it? Are you being sarcastic, or is it a really nice facility?
That's what it says on the side of it. I mean, it's like a barn. I mean, it's a great atmosphere. It's nothing fancy, but it's a great atmosphere. They bring it, but
I feel like,
but it does on the outside. It says like the basketball palace of the Midwest.
Really. Oklahoma's football stadium has kind of they call it the Palace on the Prairie out there. Of course, you're talking about a 96,000 seat
where they have their
stadium.
Sooner, the Boomer, Schooner, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, I was actually there.
That wagon.
I was there when it tipped. Do you remember?
Yeah,
I
do.
I can't remember who they were playing, but it was a windy day.
It was in the end zone. The end zone.
So they always have it in that northeast end zone, and it basically comes out to maybe the 20 or the 30 and just does a little circle. It's a windy day. Somebody just cut that. I don't know who it was a first time driver on that thing, but somebody just cut it too hard and that thing tipped.
Weird things. And this is, we're
going off the cuff.
Not even trying to do a segue, but I was seeing old clips of Barry Sanders against the Niners in the NFC Championship from like, I don't know, 1980 or something crazy. It was like a long time ago. And there was a live lion on the sidelines with like a leash.
I saw that on Twitter. I saw that.
It had like a leash. She wasn't even really. I was like, okay.
How'd they do that? Right?
No
did they fly that thing in from Detroit? Did they rip one out in California?
Tranquilizers on that thing. I don't know.
Oh, that's wild lion. Times back then in the late 90s. It's talk about a guy we didn't get enough of.
Barry Sanders. Did you get to see him play? That guy was
just highlights. Freak, just highlights, right? He was a little before.
He played on some bad teams, but man, he was just a freak.
Yeah.
Just untackable. I mean, you couldn't tackle the guy. He was just juking everywhere.
And he's like, what, 5'8"?
He was
cleats,
not very big.
5'8" in cleats, but.
And then quit at like the top of his game. So.
Yeah. I was rooting for Detroit. I really was. They had some good news on Tuesday. They're keeping their OC.
That's all.
He turned down some offers.
He had a chance to be a head coach at 2 different places, I think, or at least they were looking at him.
Yeah, that says a lot about culture. If you're willing to turn down a bag to have a chance at a Super Bowl, and they were close. They came out hot in the NFC Championship.
That was obviously everybody's going to second at me. Here's the thing: everyone's given Dan Campbell. I mean, he went for it on 4th down twice in the second half.
Dan Gamble.
Yeah, and obviously it didn't work out. So would we even be talking? What would we be saying if both of those would have worked and they won the game? Man, that guy's
gutsy.
Yeah, gutsy. Yeah. So it's like it's really easy to criticize with the benefit of hindsight. And so that being said, I mean, do I take the points? Maybe, but he didn't. And hey, I can tell you right now, I will guarantee you that there's 56 or 53 guys in that locker room that'll run through a brick wall for Dan Campbell.
Kidding.
So.
No kidding. Big fan of him. I've seen Twitter have their fun with it, though, too. A lot of people are like, don't go play blackjack with Dan Campbell unless you want to see him hit on 18s.
No, that was funny meme. He gets 18, hit me. But,
yeah.
But there's a lot of Twitter, keyboard warriors.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Everybody's coach of the year on Twitter. So.
Isn't that true? Yeah. It's different whenever you're actually in the spotlight and everything you do is kind of micro.
I saw the best crazy stat. I think it was 114 games in history, in playoff games in history, where a team led by 17 at halftime, and only one of those games did the team losing lead entering the 4th quarter, and that was Sunday night.
Yeah.
114 playoff games where a team was up by 17 or more points at halftime. And in only one scenario were they losing entering the 4th quarter.
That's a fan base that's been through a lot, and that's a tough pill to swallow. And that really is.
I mean, Brock Purdy probably should win the MVP. Not going to, but he had a heck of a season, and he did not play well in the first half.
No,
but he played lights out in the second.
Turned it around. Of course, he's got Kyle Shanahan. I mean, offensive mind.
They got some weapons, but it was a great game. But I mean, Detroit. I don't think Detroit is one of those teams that's okay. Well, they had their 1 year. See you later. I think they're building something.
Yeah. Well, and you look at they went from like a 4-win season in Campbell's first year, 9 last year, and then you go to the NFC Championship.
Well, that's the 4-win season. I think they started like 0-9 that year.
Oh, really?
It was. I mean, it was like okay, more of the same.
Yeah.
But and I think who's their big stud defensive lineman?
Hutchinson
had his comments afterwards were like, "We ain't going anywhere." Essentially, I mean, he was like, "This is." And he even referenced Michigan. He goes, "Those college boys down the road. It took them a couple years of whatever." And it was.
I hate using this expression, but. I would get in a foxhole with Dan Campbell. I think he's a guy that you're willing to.
I mean, Like I said, they'd run through a brick wall for him.
Tough loss for them, though. I'll tell you what surprises me about Purdy, and he never wows you in any sort of way. He just kind of,
he's just still relevant.
Game manager. Yeah. But he just has enough elusiveness. He's not fast enough. You're going to spy him like a Lamar or anything. And it's kind of this entire sort of dynamic in defensive scheming right now where, okay, he's fast enough. We don't want to blitz him all the time, but he's slow enough. We're not going to spy him. And that allows this like gray area where on these like 3rd and 7,
he actually rushed for more yards than Lamar Jackson did.
Yeah. But he just creeps out, but he can't catch him. And then he goes and gets 8 yards.
Sudden, yep.
So Pat Mahomes can kind of do that too.
He had a crazy stat. I don't know if it was second. I think it was the second half only. The only player in history of the NFL that rushed for this many yards, threw for this many, 80% completion percentage,
really?
no turnovers. Of course, it's one of those, what's it, next gen stats or Elias Sports Beer. I mean, there's a stat for everything.
They get so deep on it. Yeah.
But he's the first guy ever to walk across that line. And, you can find a stat to figure it.
Nobody ever gives him credit, but right here.
Yep.
He has got the mind of an NFL QB. And I always respect kind of his religious stances that he takes. He's very
especially afterwards. He was like, at halftime, I was as calm as could be. He goes, we lose, I'm still blessed. If we win, I'm still blessed. And it was impressive.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law's a huge 49ers, not the North Carolina guy, a different brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Huge Niners fan. He grew up in California, grew up a Niners fan, but he's also a pastor of a church over in Kentucky. And so I sent him the post-game press conference where Brock Purdy was talking about, how he was just relaxed at halftime and just thanking God regardless. So
yeah, what poise. We made you wait. We were going to get around to it, but the Chiefs get it done. I've said it to a ton of people this week. The Ravens played undisciplined football to a T, if you even could. It was just watching a team that has playoff experience rise to the occasion and watching a team that doesn't have as much playoff experience fall apart.
I think I agree 100%. I think there's a sequence that probably determined the outcome of the game, or at least played a massive role in it, that summarizes exactly what you just said. And that's the Zay Flowers finally get a big play.
Yeah.
He gets down to like the 8-yard line, and instead of just getting up, putting the ball down and going to the huddle, he has to showboat. He gets called for taunting, which backs him up 15 yards, which completely changes your play calls at that point.
Yeah.
And then 1-2 plays later, he's diving to the end zone, and the same guy that he taunted knocks the ball out. And that's turning point.
And then
he
slams his helmet on the sideline and cut his
finger. To me, that was the epitome of exactly what you just said: undisciplined football versus we've act like you've been here before. So.
Yeah, and I mean, Ravens are a really good team. Really good team. They didn't have their best effort this past weekend. It's never over. There was probably 11, 12 minutes left in the game when that play happened. And I remember I was watching the game with my fiance when they punched out that fumble right there at the goal line. I said, Chiefs going back to Super Bowl. Yeah. Yeah. Just the momentum. You could just feel it. It was just like the energy was sucked out of that stadium. And, but yeah, Pat Mahomes is just playoff Patty. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'll say it. I don't need to glaze him here because he gets enough praise, but my goodness.
Anybody who picks against, even I'm talking about the Super Bowl, anybody that picks against the Chiefs is crazy. So until you beat the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, then
I haven't heard anything about CMC this week.
I don't even care about who Vegas says is the favorite, regardless.
Yeah,
until you beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, champs, they're the team to beat.
But CMC looked a little hobbled to me at the end of that game. So I'm curious to see if they release anything about. Obviously, he's going to play. I mean, it's the Super Bowl, but if you're playing on a bum leg or a sprained ankle, you're not going to be as effective.
After he scored. He scored, I think they put him up by 10. And there was a trainer rubbing his shoulders, looked like to me. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I don't know.
If that is what you're talking about or not. But,
well, we both, surprisingly, got our Super Bowl matchup predictions correct with the Chiefs and the Niners. Headed to Vegas, which I think is very fitting, given the current state of professional sports and the relation to to Vegas. But gosh, did you see you can in Canada they have a wager on if Travis Kelce will propose to Taylor at the end of the game.
Well, we both know this is headed towards a 50-yard line smooch with the confetti falling. So
that's what the script writers want, right? That's
what I'm predicting.
That's what they're going for. So it'll be interesting. So the question of the day is obviously they're a win away, one of the biggest games to win, if not the biggest in the world of sports. But does a Super Bowl victory again for the Chiefs solidify them as a legitimate dynasty?
I think they're already a dynasty.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they have to win another one. I think obviously it adds to it, but you play in 6 straight AFC championship games. I think this is 4 Super Bowls in 6 years that they've played in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If they win, I mean, I think they're already a dynasty. So
I saw.
I don't know. There's not necessarily a definition of dynasty, a minimum, whatever. But it's kind of like Supreme Court said they knew what obscenity was. That we'll know it when we see it. Well, I see a dynasty. So.
Yeah. I had a chance to catch a quick snippet of Tom Brady on Tuesday. He was on Pat McAfee's show, basically saying, I don't think anybody will ever do it as good as me and Bill. And I'm like, that's easy to say when you're watching perhaps greatness unfolding in the midst. Pat's younger. He's got the better numbers at this point in his career. And he's shown that he can do it when it matters.
There's not anyone who dislikes Tom Brady and the Patriots more than me. Being serious, they're just. But what the Chiefs have done is impressive. They're not the Patriots in terms of accomplishments.
I would
they're on their way
at this point. Yeah, I would agree.
They're on their way. They're already there as far as you either like them or you hate them. I mean, there's a whole country of people rooting for San Francisco.
Is that not the truth?
Yeah,
I mean, my goodness.
So, I know that Chiefs fans don't like to hear that because I know a ton of Chiefs fans that hated the Patriots just like I did.
Yeah.
And they don't like to hear the fact that they're the Patriots now, but the Chiefs have become the Patriots.
I made the comment.
And that's part of winning. I mean, I'd rather, hey, sign me up to be the Patriots. You know? That means you've won a whole lot.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I made the comment last week jokingly to our staff, to quote Christopher Nolan film, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
I've seen that meme before.
That's exactly what's going on
with
the
Chiefs. Well, it goes back
to
there was a meme that when the first AFC championship, when Tom Brady came into Arrowhead, they won like 37-31 in overtime.
Yeah.
Went and then they played like the worst Super Bowl ever against the Rams. I think they won like 13-3. It's the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. But going into that AFC championship, it showed the country map and who was rooting for who.
And
the entire country was red except for like New England.
Mm.
And that was everybody's for you. And then now you look at, and I think the one I saw was going into the AFC championship and the entire country was purple except for Missouri and Kansas and then Ohio and part of north of Pennsylvania because of the AFC North.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So essentially the entire country was rooting for the Ravens according to this meme anyway. So.
I don't even think Kansas City Chiefs fans care either. I mean, here in this part of the country, the blood runs so thick for Chiefs Kingdom. They're almost ignorant to it probably.
I've talked to Chiefs, they don't, because the same people I'm talking about were vocal about their hatred of the Patriots.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes is not Tommy, he's not like Tom Brady, and Travis Kelce's not like Gronk. And I'm like, well, is he? They're both excellent, but anyway, it's like I said, that means you're winning a whole lot if half the country hates you. So,
yeah. Well, speak of a guy that we want to have grace our doorways one day, Travis Kelce might be, if some people probably even say it's not debatable, one of the best, if not the best tight ends in the history of the NFL. And he continued to show that, with his performance the other day. I mean, he's just, his capabilities as a pass catcher, and I'd love to hear Clay Harbor talk about it more because he had great insight on it. But the evolution of the tight end position is insane. And for him to be a guy that's like, this is your number one target, not
essentially
a wide receiver.
He's a wide receiver with a tight end's body. I mean, that's the whole position is, you even think Chiefs, Tony Gonzalez, they're two different players.
Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez was that traditional tight end, whereas, he was kind of Travis Kelce could line up at wide receiver and be just as good. I mean, he's a freak.
Yeah.
What was he? 11 catches in the first half, 11 targets.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
11 for 11. I mean, even when I think it's probably a weird comparison, but when I think of Tony Gonzalez compared to Travis Kelce, it's like Tony made a lot of his living in the air, right? He'd be in the red zone. They'd throw him a jump ball. He'd be on a linebacker or something, and he'd get a lot of TDs that way. You never see Travis go up for balls, really. He's always over the middle, just, finding space, sitting in the zones, and just seems like he picks people apart for, the whole 4 quarters. But it'll be an interesting matchup. Headed to Las Vegas for Super Bowl. What is this? 58? 57? 58? But we will see. It'll be interesting to see if as Byron would put it, Chiefs dynasty can continue their reign. They'll have their hands full with the 49ers, but the Chiefs defense,
they're not going to have their hands full.
You don't think so? You think it's the Chiefs game to lose?
I think 100% it's the Chiefs games to lose. If anybody that thinks otherwise is crazy. So San Francisco's good. Yes, they wouldn't be where they're at if they weren't decent, but like I said, I've seen this show before. So
yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, it almost feels like a rewind too. It's a rematch.
To me, honestly, it feels. I think the word I would use is inevitable.
Really, Man, that's heavy. That's heavy. Yeah, but that's where they sit. I mean, it's interesting too, even how their team dynamic has changed. We're not going to put up 40 and outscore you. Now they do it with defense, and their momentum came from defense against Baltimore, and it was the big plays they made there. But yeah, you just never know. Super Bowls are always, flip of the coin. So, well, we're getting close to the end of our time. We have a very busy schedule, a lot of stuff to get ready for our Springfield enshrinement. We're looking forward to that. We want to remind you of the Champions Gala, April 4th. Tickets are out now, and they're getting ready to go fast. We've had several people contacting us about it. You can find information about that event in the podcast description below. As always, as promised, we have new episodes every Wednesday, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube as well. Be sure to check us out. Stay tuned. As we mentioned, a lot of big guests coming up. We're really looking forward to that. I get to see some of those people this weekend ahead of their podcast debuts, for lack of better terms. But with that, we are coming to an end. Byron, anything for the people?
We will see you next week and hope to see you on Sunday at the enshrinement.
Absolutely. We'll catch you next time on another episode of Where the Game Lives On.